possible. So the topic is presentation skills. Can you quickly tell me, if you are on YouTube, you can use the chat box. You can also use chat box and Google Meet. What exactly are the occasions, the opportunities that as a student you have to make presentations? When do you make presentations? Do students make presentations or do teachers do? If students have to do, when do they do it? What are the kind of opportunities they get? I think I can read the chat box here and somebody can help me on YouTube in case there are some good answers. You can read them out for me. Can anybody tell me? What are the opportunities, occasions that you have to make presentations? Instead of speaking on the microphone, I think because there is resound there, you can write in the chat box. That will be better, I think. In fact, have you ever made any presentations yet, or do you have to start making them now? If you are planning to make, when are you likely to make them? Do you make any presentations in college? Yes or no? I see some answers on the wall on YouTube. I think somebody said seminars, annual day. Oh, that's good. The first year, good morning, students, or seminars. Submitting projects. Yes, yes, of course. Somebody talked about projects. I think I can read some parts of the chat on YouTube. Anyway, I don't think anybody is writing on Google Meet. That's fine. Maybe in case any teacher can help me with what they see on YouTube, perhaps they can help me. Otherwise, okay. Okay, let's move on. So these are some of the places where you get opportunities to make presentations. While you are at college, you are often asked to make paper presentations. Paper presentation also is a presentation, though more than, you typically, many students read out papers, but paper presentations can be converted into actual presentations instead of just reading them out. Then lots of seminars are conducted, not only the English department, I think every department conducts seminars often. And when seminars are conducted, students get opportunities to make presentations. And often Viva examinations or maybe Viva, mock Viva presentations, etc. happen. And even then students get opportunities to present. But once you leave the college, even after you have left the college and then you have got a job or whatever, you have lots of occasions, lots of situations in which you need to make presentations. For instance, right from the day when you leave your college and go to appear for an interview to get a job, they may ask you to make a presentation there, especially if you go to become a teacher. And then if you want to, if you are appearing for an interview for the job of a teacher, they may ask you to make a 5-minute presentation, a model lesson, a sample class, some such thing. So that's also some kind of a presentation. So the job interview itself is perhaps the first opportunity you'll get immediately after your college to make a presentation. So you must be ready now. If you're not ready now, you'll have great difficulty there. And most jobs, especially if you're planning to work in the corporate sector, they may have some group discussions, and depending on your participation in the group discussion, you are likely to be chosen or, not chosen. So that's why a group discussion also is an occasion, is an opportunity for you to make presentations, because you're watched, there are cameras there, and then your presentation skills are watched, and then based on what you have said and how you have said these two things, so you are likely to get selected. So that's why group discussion is another opportunity. Then once you get a job, suppose you become a member of staff of some company, you might be invited to make some in-house presentations, some training programs, some orientation programs for the newcomers. So in-house, even after you become an employee of a company, you are likely to get opportunities to make presentations. And most importantly, if you become a teacher, there will be hundreds and thousands of opportunities for you to give lectures, extension lectures, guest lectures, and within the college and within the classroom, every day is an opportunity for you to make presentations. They are not just lectures, they are presentations. Because every teacher uses some aids, some visuals, and then uses all, whatever we are going to discuss now, all those elements that make a presentation very effective. So teachers and even other employees constantly, continuously throughout their career get lots of opportunities. So our idea is to prepare for them. Whether we are a student today or an employee tomorrow, we need to get ready with the skills that are essential to make good presentations. Okay, if you are logging in from either a mobile phone or a laptop or whatever, please do me a favor. You go to Google and search for Menti, M-E-N-T-I. I'll give you 2 seconds time. You can just go to Google and search for Menti. And when you search for it, you find a link, join a presentation. Click on that, right? Once you've clicked on that, it asks you for a code number. So the code number is 72461353. You see on the screen here. I'll repeat that, 72461353. You can also aim your camera at the screen and then capture that QR code. That way also you can enter, or there is a link there at the bottom. That way also you can enter. And there is a question there. The question is, what makes a presentation effective? Suppose you want to make a good presentation. What are a few elements that go into making it effective? When does a presentation become effective? You can give 1, 2, 3 answers, multiple answers, any number of answers. You can repeat your answers. Also, you can, answer a second time or third time also. Every time you can give a maximum of 3 answers. Go to Menti, right? And start giving your answers. Yeah, I think so. Oh, good. Some of you have started giving answers. Somebody has written organization. Maybe you mean organization of the thoughts. Facial expression. Good. Thank you very much. Good content is essential. Yes, somebody has written Kavya. Don't write your name. Write what are the elements of, maybe, I don't know if Kavya thought that Kavya must be there in the presentation. If you want the presentation to be a poem, Kavya is right. Otherwise, Kavya is your name. So somebody has written body language and concentration, visual presentation, and communication skills, of course, very, very essential. Communication skills are, of course, essential for everything that you do while you are at college and after that. Then visual presentation, yes. Knowledge, somebody said, thank you so much. Knowledge, absolutely essential. Think, you mean the thinking process or the thoughts, the right good thoughts that you have? Wonderful. I think only some 6 or 7 have answered. There are many other elements that go to make a presentation quite effective. The question is, when does a presentation become really effective? What should you do? What should you add to the presentation to make it effective? A visual presentation to educate others, to motivate others. Good. Maybe those who are on YouTube also are answering, but they don't get added here, I think. Yeah. If nobody else is participating, maybe I'll stop here. Oh, yeah, I think some more answers are coming. Vaishnavi, that's your name, I think. I did not ask you for your name. Content, yes, content is absolutely important. Somebody has written my name. Good. I'll be with you to help you. Easy to understand. Yes, they must be easy to understand. The presenter must have a lot of confidence. The main point must be highlighted. Yes, I see it here. Okay, I'll stop it now. Maybe I will come back to my presentation. Okay, thank you very much for your participation. Whatever you have answered, I have put that in 5 easy points to remember. So this is the same thing that you said. I think most of you have given the same answers, but I have created an acronym with the words that you see on screen. The 5 points are appearance, body language. I think many of you said it already. Then content, right? The very central, the ideas that you want to present, delivery, and elegant visuals. That's PowerPoint slideshows or visuals or whatever. I think, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. I'm coming back to it again so that in case you missed it, you can see it. Right. Okay. So these are the 5 things that I wanted to emphasize. So I've made it easier for you to remember by arranging them in that A, B, C, D, E order so that you can easily remember them. So the first letters of the 5 points that I've chosen. In fact, I've manipulated the words to make it a good acronym. Appearance is 1. Body language is 2. Content of your presentation is 3. Delivery is the 4th one. And elegant visuals, that's your PowerPoint slideshow or any other visuals that you use, etc., are the 5th one. These are the 5 important elements that make your presentation effective, successful. Okay, so I mean, these 5 elements must be kept in mind, are relevant to you wherever you make a presentation, whatever be the kind of presentation, whatever be the subject that you are presenting on, and however long you are making. If they are useful for a 5-minute presentation or a 5-hour presentation. And similarly, when you are a student and if you are asked to make a student presentation, they are relevant to you. And tomorrow, if you become an employee and then you are asked to make a presentation there, an academic presentation or whatever, still these 5 are important to you. And similarly, maybe you are making a presentation in your physics class or in your English class. In all the places, these are useful to you. So just remember these 5 and keep them in your mind when you go to make a presentation or when you start preparing for your presentation. Not necessarily in that order. For instance, last time when I showed this slide to somebody, one student said, "Sir, I'm 20% ready for my presentation." I asked her, "What is this 20%? I mean, have you prepared 20% of the content or what?" "No, sir, I've decided what dress I have to wear, and that's why 20% I'm ready," she said. So not that kind. So it's not in that order. Appearance, dress and all that comes later on the day of your presentation. So the first thing, of course, is the content. You have to decide on the content and then you have to organize ideas and you have to be ready with that. So they are not in chronological order, maybe just for the sake of creating a convenient acronym to remember, I put them in this order. Okay, let's see what they are. The first one, appearance. So the first, what do you mean by appearance? Do you like to write anything in the chat box? What do you mean when I say appearance? Be bold and practice. Somebody has written there. Okay. When I say appearance, I mean a few things. What are these? Of course, the first important thing that I'd like to tell you is the visual impact that you make on the audience, on your spectators, on the class or the group to which you are addressing. So the visual impact that you make, when they see you, they make your first impression does not happen every day. First impression happens only once, and that's the only opportunity that you get to leave your impression. And the first impression does not take hours. It usually happens in a matter of a few moments. So those few moments are very important. Sometimes it's a few seconds. The moment somebody sees you, they already have formed an impression about you. So that few seconds long first impression is absolutely important to make a good presentation. So how do you do that? Because you've not opened your mouth yet, you've not said anything, they don't know what you're going to talk about, and they have no idea whether you are a good presenter or not. So the first impression depends upon the way you appear. So your visual impact sometimes is more important than your verbal impact. The impact that you leave with your content, with the what you say, and so many other things that we're going to discuss during this presentation. So visually be impressive. And when I say visually impressive, it's of course dress. Dress must be appropriate to the occasion, suitable, whatever the culture in which you live demands, and also the tradition of the place where you're working. I mean, I think I don't need to tell you here that the dress that you wear at home is different from the dress that you wear to college. The dress that you wear to college perhaps is different from the dress that the place where you're going to work expects you to wear. So every situation in which you find yourself had some expectations to dress. So instead of defying the rules, instead of be, something unique, It's better if you follow the traditions there, follow the expectations there, and abide by them. So find out what dress is appropriate to the occasion where you are invited. Suppose you are invited to make a presentation to a huge gathering of senior citizens. Perhaps that situation is different from a situation where you are expected to address a group of students like this, right? Or maybe your colleagues tomorrow if you are employed. So the right dress, and more important than the dress, your facial expression, right? How do you look? The first time when people see you, they have already made some impressions about what kind of a person you are. Sometimes, most times they might be right, sometimes they may go wrong also, but your facial, the impact that you leave, the impression that you make is going to make a huge difference to what happens the remaining 59 minutes after the first minute. So facial expression should always include something. What's that? A smile. A happy smile is something that I think gets you a lot of leverage. It benefits you a lot. So if you, it's not always easy in case your face naturally is not a very, very bright, happy, smiling one. You can cultivate that. It's not very difficult if you consciously try. I think you can add a smile to your face all the time. And imagine, ask yourself, how do you feel when you see somebody happy, when you see somebody smiling, when you see somebody exchanging a smile with you, and how do you feel when somebody does not have that smile on the face? So what you expect naturally you have to give to others also. So have a smile on your face. This is a photo that I took when I came to your college last time to address some of your teachers. So when I came there, I had this photograph. I don't think you can see anybody there in the photograph who does not have a smile on her face. I think it's a huge group of teachers that I address there, but everyone has a bright smile and most appropriately, suitably dressed for that occasion. I think it's a lovely group of teachers that I address there. I think you can recognize most of them. I think quite a lot of teachers who are with you today were there then also. And I'm sure, I think they all have made their first impressions. They all are great teachers there with you. And this picture itself speaks for that. Okay. Right. Okay, for appearance, let's quickly move on to body language. So what is this body language? What does it include? Do you like to say something? Those who are on Google can also unmute yourself and speak, but one by one after another. Maybe in case you would like to say anything about body language, one or two of you can speak, or you can write in the chat box. If you are on YouTube, you can still write on chat box. There is a chat window that's available. Somebody said skills, but what skills are they? Body language, what skills are that? Okay, because I think it's taking time. Maybe there is a time lag, I think, between the Google presentation and the YouTube presentation. I cannot immediately see your chat. So let me tell you what are these. Again, I've created one more acronym for you for remembering it very easily. Remember ENDMAP, and MAP. Easy to remember. And what does it include? So body language includes eye contact, natural gestures, decent posture, modulation of your voice, active movement, energetic movement, physical movement, and finally, pleasant manners. And MAP is the acronym for that. And I created that only for the purpose of making it easy for you to remember that. All these elements make body language. Some of them may overlap also, don't worry. So the first one is eye contact. I think many students have this problem. When they make a presentation, even if it's for a few minutes, it's very difficult for them to make eye contact with all the students. Either they look away from the students and turn to the board and keep looking at the board, or they look away, or they look into the text, or sometimes they look at only one small section of the students. So the whole class is here and they look at maybe 4 or 5 students, perhaps their friends, and all the time they are looking at that group of students, only at that part of the class only. Sometimes they look very, blank, completely lost. Beginners. It happens to everybody. It happened to me also. It happened to everyone. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong in that in the beginning, but you have to become conscious of that. So you have to ask yourself, where am I looking? Whom am I seeing when I am making this presentation? Am I making an eye contact with everybody in my class or not? So this is a 2-minute presentation. I get very little time to look at everybody, but within that 2 minutes, can I just at least look around the class? I mean, look around the class, not, I mean, like a circus show, but maybe making an eye come, because maybe there are people here, there are people here. So may I look this side for 2 seconds and this side for another 2 seconds, right? So if I'm able to make eye contact with the whole class, I think my control over the situation, my confidence, and also the effect of my presentation multiplies. So learn this. This is something that comes with everything that I am going to talk to you about comes by practice. There is nothing that's impossible. Don't say, oh, I cannot do that. No, all of us began like that. In fact, the first time, even after I became a lecturer, that was how long ago? Maybe nearly 45, 50 years ago. So when I became a lecturer, after I taught for more than 1 or 2 years, our principal one day asked me to make a presentation on the college anniversary, the annual day. So I felt so very shaky, so very nervous. I had sweat in my palms, and I thought it was impossible for me to make a public presentation despite being a teacher. So that's how it happens to all of us in the beginning. So in case you are nervous, don't worry about that. I think you can practice and become successful. So use some good gestures. These hands that you have are not to be wasted. I think the most powerful connecting organs in your body are your hands. So I think you can use your hands quite expressively. In case you tie them behind your back, or if you put them in your pockets, or if you just hold them like this, I think your presentation has lost all the tools that are available to you. You have not utilized them at all. So good gestures, right? Use them. And good posture, the right posture. So when you stand erect, and then, I mean, give the impression that I think you are in control. So you are making the presentation, you know what's what, and then let people believe that you are going to make a good presentation. Then the voice modulation, so the highs, the lows, etc. Movement, some movement, instead of gluing yourself to one particular spot in the class, if it's a class, or any other place where you are making a presentation, instead of being stationary and fixed to one place, you can make some physical movement. If it's a class, you can move around, you can go inside the class, you can go closer to the students, or at least you can move about. Of course, not unnecessarily. Every movement must have some purpose. So purposefully move about. Maybe if you are, for instance, writing on the board, maybe you can look that side and this side. If you have a slideshow, perhaps you can look at the slide for a second or two, and then you can turn back to the audience and you can speak to them. And similarly, if you are a student, if you are making a student paper presentation, suppose you are reading out a paper. Still, even if you are reading out a paper, you can read maybe half the line, and then you can look at the audience and you can look back at the paper. So such simple tips make your presentation. In case you are completely lost in the paper, and then if you get immersed in it so much that you don't look up at all, you don't raise your eyes at all, you don't make contact with the audience at all, I think you are losing an opportunity to make an effective presentation. So make it a habit to not only make eye contact, but some physical movement, some turning around if necessary, some stepping back, stepping forward, and there must be some energy in your body. So, and there must be enthusiasm in your voice. So good modulation, good physical movement add to the effect of the presentation. And finally, good manners, pleasant manners. When somebody asks a question, how do you answer that? How do you greet them? How do you go through the entire process of the presentation? How are you responding to them? How are you accepting questions? What is the tone in which you are addressing them? What kind of good etiquette that you are following? All these contribute to your manners. So good behavior, good manners, good politeness, and then good etiquette, classroom or presentation etiquette, and all these factors contribute to body language. So if your body language is effective, I think you have achieved a major portion of your success already, even before you have taken care of other things. So if your content is not really superb, if your presentation skills are good, it still goes very successful, right? So it does not mean that you can neglect the content area. I'm just telling you that this is very important, as important, maybe more important than even the content. Okay, let's move on from there. Okay, the third part, A for appearance, B for body language, C for content. I told you already that they are not in that chronological order. Content is the first part actually with which you need to work. Suppose somebody asks you to make a presentation tomorrow. Where do you begin? Here. You don't begin with the dress that you're going to wear tomorrow, or you don't start thinking about the body language, because body language depends on what you're going to do with whatever kind of situation in which you are in, and the kind of audience and the possibility for movement, etc. There are lots of other factors that go into it. But content, the first thing, suppose you decide to make a presentation tomorrow, immediately right this moment, you must start working on the content. What does it mean? What does content mean? When I say content, I would like to tell you 4 things. Again, easy to remember. I'm making it easy for you to remember. Remember 4 P's. P, 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 P. So what are those 4 P's? The first P is planning your presentation. So tomorrow, you've been asked to make a presentation for 5 minutes, 50 minutes, 5 hours, whatever. Irrespective of the time, irrespective of the topic, you need to plan your presentation. Planning your presentation includes asking yourself a few questions. What are those questions? The first question is, what is it that I'm going to present? What is it that I'm going to present about? For instance, if Madhavi is still on camera, she can tell me. I asked her a few questions when she first invited me to make a presentation today for you. I asked her lots of questions, actually, not a few. I asked her some questions. If Madhavi is there, she can tell me what are the questions that I asked her. Is she there? I see Fatima there. Fatima, if you invite anybody to make a presentation in your college, what are the typical questions they ask you?
Sir, pardon, sir?
If you invite somebody to make a presentation,
okay,
what are the typical questions they ask you?
When to the resource person?
Yeah.
Yes. Sir is asking. Sir, if you invite somebody to give any presentation, yes?
Madhavi, I asked, you invited me.
Can I get the question again, sir?
Madhavi, you invited me, and immediately I asked you a few questions. What were those questions?
What are the typical questions asked by students when they are doing a presentation? Yes.
I asked Madhavi who are going to be the participants, how many of them are going to be there, and what language should I speak, and what's their level, and will there be some teachers also, and how much time do I have, right? These are the kinds of questions that I ask. So anybody would ask the same questions. In case somebody invites you, you also have to ask these questions. Suppose your teacher asks you, make a 5-minute presentation tomorrow. So you must know what should you speak about, what is out of the scope, what is within the scope, what is outside the scope, what language, how much time do you have, what are the kind of audience that you're going to speak to. So these are the questions. So because if you know the answers to these questions, your presentation can be made much more effective. If you don't know, suppose you go to make a presentation without knowing answers to these questions, I mean, you'll be completely lost. Is that clear? So please ask yourself as many questions as possible about the situation, the context, the kind, the quality, the duration, the topic, etc. And relating to that, if you have answers to those questions, it makes it very easy for you. So planning includes all that. So you must very clearly know how much time do you have, right? And why are you going to make this presentation? Is this presentation going to entertain people, or to educate them, or to ennoble them, or to, bring about some change in them, to inspire them? What is it? What are you trying to achieve through this? So if you know the why you are making this presentation, it helps you. Similarly, whom are you going to address? Are the students? If they are students, are they first year students? If they are first year students, what is their level? What languages do they already know? Has any presentation already been made about this topic? Is this the first time they are listening to this topic? So these are very simple questions, but gather as much information about this as possible, because that helps you make a good presentation. Okay, that's planning process. Then you need to prepare. How does preparation happen? Preparation is gathering information. For instance, if you're asked to talk about some topic and then you don't know anything about that, how can you make a presentation? So knowledge, you have to gather knowledge, facts, data, information, whatever is possible. You can sit in a library. These days, you can go to the web and then search for something that you need, or you can refer to a book. You can ask a friend. You can check the earlier presentations made on similar topics by other people. You can talk to your teachers. You can talk to your seniors, or you can just brainstorm and then you can write down your thoughts. You can brainstorm with your friends. Do whatever, right? But gather a lot of data, and of which, of course, you can select whatever is relevant. If you need maybe a 5-minute talk, maybe you can gather information enough for about 50 minutes, but you're not going to talk about everything that you have. You're going to cut it short depending upon the suitability of the material that you've collected. So research. First thing that you need to do is a lot of research so that you gather the right data. Don't borrow some presentation from somebody else and then use it as it is. I think you will land into trouble if you do that. If you are trying to use somebody else's presentation, you are certain to land into trouble. Don't, borrow from somebody straight, don't plagiarize, and don't declare that it's your own presentation and try to present it as yours. Students typically do that, project work and all that. Many, not, I don't know how it's in St. Theresa, but in most colleges, what do? They just go and pick up a project from somewhere and just change the first page, and all other pages remain the same. They come and present it. They come and submit it. So not that kind of project, not kind of presentation. So if your presentation has to be original, you have to think on your own. You have to add your ideas. You have to present it your style. The content may not be 100% your own. Of course, it's already there available, but you put it in the right appropriate format and you give your own interpretation to that. You present your style. Everybody has a style. You develop your own style. It automatically comes to you. And then present. So research is nothing but research is not like PhD. Research is just gathering relevant data, gathering relevant information so that your presentation is going to give something to the audience at the end of it. Then you structure it. Suppose you have 10 ideas. In what order do you present them? For instance, when I showed you the first slide today, I am going to talk about 5 ideas. I also clarified that these are not in that chronological order. In some sequence, some convenient sequence, I have put them. So you also decide in what order you are going to present those thoughts. So you have 10 ideas and you have 10 minutes time. 10 ideas to be presented in 10 minutes need a structure. That structure, another word for that is organization, right? Some good, good skeleton, good structure. So I'm going to start with this idea. I'm going to move on to this idea. Then I'm going to tell this story. I'm going to develop this plan. I'm going to do this. I'm going to give this example, and I'm going to conclude. So something like that. So if you have that structure in mind, it becomes very easy for you to make a good, impactful presentation. So think of the order, the organization of your thoughts. So depending on the topic that you've chosen. Right? For instance, somebody suddenly asks you to make a presentation about the Republic Day. So where do you begin? What will you add to that? What are the points that you're going to make? How are you going to conclude? So there will be a structure. Suppose you want to make it chronological. So how was the Republic Day in 1947? How was it in 1950? How was it in 1960? How is it today? So chronological order. Right? Sequential order for what happens at the beginning of the Republic Day parade. Before the parade begins, what happens? During the parade, what happens? After the parade, what happens? What is the retreat? So suppose you have some sequential order. Whatever, what order you are following is not important, but there must be some good order which proves that your presentation is well structured. Without that, suppose you start here, you move here, you go there, and then you come back here, and then you again go there. I think the audience will be completely confused. Even you've made some good points also, they cannot structure them. Right? For instance, I have shown just 4 points on that screen for you. These 4 points are presented a little thematically. For instance, if you notice it properly, I have made a very huge, larger arrow for practice. Do you know why? Why have I done it larger? All the other arrows are almost the same size, or increasingly larger size, but practice is very big. So because I think that practice must get the highest possible, the maximum time. Right? So in case the whole thing is going to make 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, you have 24 hours to make your presentation tomorrow. So how much time you are going to give to what? So I think practice should get the highest, especially students like you. If you don't practice, you are sure to fail. Failing to practice is practicing to fail. Failing to practice is failing, as good as failing. So I have never, sir, I did not do any practice. I have great thoughts in my mind. I know everything else, but I did not do any practice at all. So you are inviting failure. You are assuring yourself failure. So you've already begun. I am going to fail tomorrow. So who can stop you? So if you want to fail, nobody can help you. But if I want to succeed, so if your determination is very strong, if you are ambitious, and then if you are determined, automatically you will make practice. Practice is, it can be within, it can be outside, it can be in front of a mirror. The best thing is practicing with the members of your family, your brother, sister, cousin, father, mother, whoever. Even if they don't understand, don't worry, let them sit down for 10 minutes sometime and then just make a presentation. That's a wonderful rehearsal. I think if you make a rehearsal, tomorrow you are going to be absolutely successful. Especially if you are going for a job interview, if you are going to make a presentation for an examination, or if you are going to make your first few presentations, a rehearsal, a full rehearsal, a full dress rehearsal is very, very essential. Do you know that even Republic Day, they rehearse everything several times? I think the rehearsals start a month before. You might have seen on TV, the rehearsals happening already 1 month. Otherwise, that perfection, that precision will not be there. Okay? So if airplanes have to fly at that speed so very spectacularly, do you think it just happens? How many rehearsals they might have done? Okay, so coming back to that. So after practice, the last part of the content related item is present. Present, of course, happens when you come into the class or the place where you are making that presentation. And that is the time when the other 2 things that I told you become relevant. So your appearance, your body language, and all other things are relevant when you are making the presentation, not during the earlier 3 stages. So you don't need that dress sense, that gestures and all that, maybe during the planning stage and the preparation stage. But at the practicing stage, of course, you can try them, and at the presentation stage, you actually represent that. So the presentation, I already told you indirectly what exactly makes your presentation impressive, where of course content must be good, well organized, etc. But your appearance, the smile that you have on your face, the body language, your gestures, your eye contact, all that contribute to the success of your last part of the content, that is presentation. So what are the 4 steps, 4 items that go into the content? The first one is planning stage. The second one is preparing stage. Preparing includes organization. And the third, of course, the most important is the practicing stage. Spend as much time as possible. If possible, 2, 3, 4, 5 rehearsals. I mean, I don't know if it's relevant to the context today, but recently I was talking to somebody who is a curator for TED speeches in Hyderabad. You know, I think most of you know TED. So TED is a speaking platform. So I was surprised to know that to make a TED presentation, sometimes they ask 100 rehearsals. I did not believe it, but the fact came from the mouth of the curator of the TED speeches. So we must believe it. 100 rehearsals, imagine, to go to that platform and make a presentation there. So until you become an experienced extemporaneous speaker, till that time, of course, we are not comparing ourselves to those very, very eminent speakers who can just organize their thoughts and then quickly think of thoughts and present, but we are not that level. So we have to make lots of rehearsals, right? Okay, move on. So the first one, appearance. The second one was body language, which includes eye contact, gestures, posture, physical movement, etc., etc. The third one was content. Content, I told you about planning, preparing, practicing, and presenting. And we now go to delivery. So it's not only the content that's important, but you need to know how to present what you want to present. The content that you have, how are you going to present, or when you're going to present that, what things will you keep in mind? A few things that you need to keep in mind are being very clear. Whatever you want to say it so very clearly. Even if your content is limited, it's good. Instead of making 10 points, right, and confusing people, you choose only 1 or 2 points, but tell them very, very clearly so that everybody understands it. For instance, when I showed the previous slide, I once again briefly recalled what I told you during the earlier 3 slides, right? So, I mean, trying to repeat, trying to reinforce are tools that help you make your presentation clear. So be clear, be crisp, don't speak unnecessary, don't lengthen, don't be very long and confusing, be crisp, to the point, right? And be natural. So, I mean, some people, I saw especially some young students who are new to presentations, they're too very rigid. Especially about their body posture. So they put themselves in a frame, and then they don't move. They don't. I mean, they are not natural. But when they speak outside in real life, they are absolutely comfortable. So I think this comes with practice again. So be natural and be vivid when you are speaking. I think people must be able to visualize what you're talking about. It can happen through your gestures, through the kind of language, because not all words are equally effective. Not all sentence structures are equally effective. You must know what word can replace another word to make what you say a little more impressive. Some words are very highly abstract. Some words are concrete. So if you use concrete examples, if you help them visualize what you're talking about, and if you help them see things in their mind as you are speaking, I think it becomes very easy for people to understand. For this, of course, your body language is helpful, and also the kind of language that you use is also helpful. So be vivid, picturesque. Okay, there are other things also, but I'm cutting it short. Okay, so we've done 4 guidelines so far. We have taken a look at appearance, which includes dress, and most importantly, a smile on your face, body language, gestures, eye contact, posture, etc., content, planning, preparing, presenting, rehearsing, etc., and then delivery, which includes your tone, your modulation, and the pace, the speed at which you make presentation, all these things. That is delivery. So what is the pace? How fast you speak, how slow you speak, then what are the modulations that you've used. All these things contribute to your delivery, your tone, how pleasant that is, how courteous that is, etc. Then the last one is about your slides. I said elegant visuals in our context mostly because we use slideshows. How should our slides be? The last part of my presentation. I think it's 11:10. I'll close in the next 10 minutes. Right. Elegant visuals. Again, I've created one more acronym for you to remember it easily. So the
excuse me, you may take till 11:20, sir, because we
great.
started late. Thank
That's
you.
one. That's
Thank
one.
you.
Thank you so much. Maybe I'll go a little slow enough.
Yes.
Good. So the acronym that I've created for you to help you remember things relating to slideshows and visuals is bullet, BULLET. So what bullets do you need to keep in mind to make your slides impressive, impactful, effective? Okay. So the letters BULLET stand for these 6 things. Be simple. I'm talking about slides, not the content. The content, I already told you that you have to be simple, you have to be clear, you have to be natural, you have to be vivid and all that. But even your slides also must support that. If your slides are very, very confusing, and then if they are not very straight, and then if they are not clear, but even if your thoughts are clear, if the slides are not clear, again, you have lost something. So make your slides very simple, use highlighters. L stands for using legible fonts. I'll come to that. I'll give you examples. And then use limited colors, not too many colors. For instance, on this slide, how many colors do you see? Limited, not many. Then I'm not talking about the picture on the right side. I'm talking about the text that I'm using. Then enrich with audio visuals and try some rules. I'll explain each one of them to you in a little more detail. So remember these 6 principles, 6 guidelines that help you create good slides. Imagine that there are 2 slides on the screen now. The left half is one slide and the right half is another slide. The left half is a slide with what is there? Limited text, PowerPoint, and there is the heading. There are 3 bullet points there, a presentation 2, text, charts, and images for business and education. The same content is presented in another format on the right side. So it's a long text, a descriptive text. The bullet points on the left side are described in greater detail in the form of a very long sentence or maybe a few sentences. Okay? So now, what is the difference between the left slide and the right slide? Does anybody know? Which one is better? Which looks easier to the eye? Which is easy for the audience to follow? And when you are speaking, which one helps you more?
Come on,
If
guys,
you
you
think
can answer.
Yes, sir?
I'm asking the students, they want to answer, they can unmute for a minute and answer.
Yes, I've been waiting for that. In fact, I've been persuading them to unmute themselves and speak.
They do usually, sir. Because delay, I think, yes.
You can at least write in the chat box, do you like the left slide or the right slide? If you think left slide is better, write L. If you think the right slide is better, write R. That's enough, one letter. Can I see the chat box here? Yes. I see. Maybe this was a reference to the earlier one. I think somebody has written, analyze the knowledge of the topic, synthesize the speech, manuscript. Okay, thank you very much. Oh, I don't think I see any answers there. Oh, yeah. I think Padmalata has given the first answer there. L, left. I think YouTube also had some answers. L. Thank you so much. You made my job easy enough. That's good. So naturally, anybody would like, I don't think anybody will like the right side slide for any reason, right? So the one on the left is the best because of many reasons. One, I think there is limited text. Less is more. That's the heading of the slide that I put. So it has less text and it helps the audience capture those points easily and easy to memorize them. And also when you are speaking to an audience, they are props for you. They help you, go in that right sequence, and then you can just take a quick look at the slide and continue your presentation instead of reading that. And if you have the right slide, automatically you will be tempted to read that. And even if you're not, if you're an experienced presenter, even if you're not tempted to read that, what happens, the audience will be reading the whole thing, they'll not be listening to you. Because the audience focus is on that, they'll be reading the slide, the text of the slide, or some of them will be capturing it on a camera, some of them will be writing it down, and some such thing. So they will, whatever you are speaking, no, it's not heard. The less, the better. The less, the more ideal. So as little text as possible, they are just like the supporting prop points that you would like to have based on which you can develop your presentation. So you've seen all my previous slides. How are they? So, all these previous slides, just one word on the slide, for instance, there is one word or maybe a few words on each of these slides. So based on those words that I see there, I am developing my presentation. Suppose I have everything on the text, I'll be reading them. And I'll be looking at a screen, I'll be reading the text, and I think I'll lose connection with you. If that connection is lost, everything is lost. As long as I'm not connected with my audience, the whole effort is wasted. I must be continuously in connect with my audience. Right. So the left side is better. Thank you very much for saying that. Somebody had said, my name is Divya. Okay. Right. That's not relevant, I think. So many of you have said L. So what does it mean? It means that your slides must be as impressive as possible, and they'll be impressive when they have as little text as possible. Look at this slide. Do you like this slide? How many of you like? If you like this slide, you can say L. If you don't like this slide, you can say U, unlike. Like, unlike. L, U. You can write L or U. Is it a good slide or a bad slide? Quite attractive, I think. There are lots of flowers and all that. Oh, somebody has written like L and U. I think mixed response. Good, good, good. Many of you are writing U, I think. Good. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. I think some of you got what I wanted to tell you about what, I mean, of course, it's attractive, but it's not a good slide. Attractive is different from being good slide. Being attractive is different, being good is different. A good slide is something that presents very, very clearly, very easy to follow, not only just appealing to the eye, but easy to read. See, because there is a good, beautiful picture that I found on the web, I put it here. I don't know if it serves any purpose at all. I don't know if it's relevant to the content that I am presenting there. So the text is different, the picture is different, and the text is covered. Some of the text cannot be easily read. For instance, there is one orange colored flower at the top, and then you want to tell that want word cannot be seen easily. So what happened, because I've used a picture there in the wrong place, an irrelevant picture, the whole slide has lost all the effect that could be built into it. So though it looks good, it is a bad slide. I mean, I think you should not make slides like this. Your content, the text that you show on the slide must be very easy to read. I mean, there is no rule that there must be visuals on every slide. If you think that no visual is necessary, you can avoid that. Or if you think that there is a visual necessary, you can put it in the right place. Maybe you can minimize that. You can make it a small picture. And if you think that picture is relevant, first of all, ask yourself whether that picture is relevant to that. How is this picture relevant to the text reads? Tell what you want to tell, and tell what you have told. There are three parts to your presentation: opening, body, and conclusion. What is opening? You are going to tell people what you're going to tell. Today, my presentation is about, that's tell what you want to tell. Then tell. So 2, 3, 4, 5 points, whatever points you want to make, you organize them, you structure them properly, you give some ideas, you give some examples, you give some data, and then you establish them, you substantiate them, and you make those points. That is telling. And towards the end, what do? You conclude. Conclusion is tell what you have told. Oh, today we have learned this. So before I conclude, I would like to tell you that this is what we have tried to achieve. This was my objective, and this is the objective that we have achieved. This was my objective with which I started. Hope we have achieved this objective. That's all. So if you have these three parts to your presentation is absolutely successful as far as its structure is concerned. So let there be a very short introduction. There will be an enough long body with data and substantiation, and a very short conclusion. For instance, maybe if you have maybe 10% of the time or 5% of the time can be dedicated to the introduction. Another 10 to 15, 20% of the time can be contributed to that conclusion. The rest of the 70, 80% of the time must go to body, isn't it? So that's how we do it. So tell what you want to tell, introduction, tell, body, tell what you've told, conclusion. So that was the idea of this slide. That is what I wanted to tell you through this slide. So this picture is irrelevant there, and then that's not only irrelevant, but that's in the wrong place. It's obstructing the view, and then it's not easy for the audience to read that slide. So avoid such slides. So keep in mind that your slides must be clear, easy to read, etc. So these are some actual slides that I watched recently. So I mean, these four are maybe that you can find hundreds of examples like that. I mean, real life, real presentations that were made on important platforms. So what happens? Suppose you have a slide like this. See, because of so much text, the whole effect is lost. Who will read that? How can they read it? Maybe suppose you show this, suppose the top, the first one you take. Suppose you show this slide for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute. Even if you put it on the screen for maybe 2-3 minutes also, nobody can completely read that. And what will be doing when they are reading the slide? What are you doing? Right? You'll just have to stand there, or maybe you are speaking something else and then people are watching something else. They are not connected. So if they are listening to you, they cannot read that. If they are reading that, they cannot listen to you. So you are spoiling your own show. Please don't do that. So in case you have made a slide like this, what is the easiest way to overcome this problem? So divide that to many slides, split that. If you think that everything is worth presenting, you can make 5 slides instead of 1 slide. Or you can remove all that unnecessary text and convert that into bullet points, like I showed you in the previous slide. So you can make 3 or 4 bullet points on the screen, and then you can develop when you make a presentation. You are going to talk about them, not read them. Okay, so this is the first thing that you need to avoid. What was the second point to remember? The first one is be simple.
Could you, it's nearly time, 3 minutes more you have.
Sure. We'll stop.
Thank you, sir. Okay.
So you can use lots of different means to highlighting the text. So you can underline the text, you can change the color of the text, and you can bold the text. You can italic.
One point, sir. Since you can continue, they have extended little more just now they told me. You can continue for some more time. 15 to 20.
Some more time means?
Whenever you finish, you finish. 10 to 15 minutes more.
Okay, another 10 minutes. Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Sorry to disturb.
No issues. I'll close by 11:30. It's 11:24 now. I'll close at 11:30. Right. Students, I'm sorry for causing this inconvenience to you and extending the presentation by another 10 minutes. I'm sure you'll be there. So please bear with me for another 6 minutes. Okay. So that was about highlighting. Highlighting can be done in many different ways. So you can bold the text, for instance. I think all of you are comfortable using PowerPoint. All of you are very good with technology. I think these days technology is a part of everything that you do. I think you learn it right from your childhood, and I think you are better than your teachers in most cases. So you can use these techniques, right? Then I have seen, unfortunately, some presentations where people don't take care of spellings. They make very serious spelling errors on slides. Please don't do that, and then be very careful before you actually make the actual presentation. Read your slides 10 times. Read every word. Of course, spell checkers and all that are there. You can use them. Spell checkers are a great help. But in addition to that, spell checkers, because the spell checkers sometimes can mislead, read your slides very carefully. Even small punctuation, for instance, I'll just explain this one to you. Be calm. If you write be calm like this, it's a grammatical error, because after the full stop, you must certainly leave a space. It cannot follow immediately. So be full stop, space, comma. This full stop is not necessary really. You can write be space calm with a capital letter C. So, I mean, even if such small mistakes are made, because when you are speaking, you can afford to make some small mistakes here and there, but when you write, you must be absolutely careful. There are other errors also. You can just read them later where you need to read them, I'll tell you. So legible fonts. I know students sometimes are very fond of fonts that are, I mean, very highly artistic, fancy. They are called fancy fonts. So they use fancy fonts just for the thrill of it. They don't bother whether the people can read them or not. The idea is not to impress them, but to convey some idea to them, convey some message to them. So if you use these fancy fonts, what happens? People cannot read it. They have to first struggle to read that while you are making a presentation, and because they cannot make any sense out of it, they'll lose track. Then, how many fonts? As fewer as possible. Just 2 or 3 fonts are, I think, enough on any slide. Don't use too many. Don't clutter them. And the right size of the font also. So you ask yourself what font is visible from a certain distance. So if there is a student in your class sitting, I mean, if you are making a classroom presentation. So if there are maybe 30 other, 30, 40, 50 colleague students who are watching you when you are making that paper presentation. So how far are they, and then what size is appropriate? So each font looks different and each size looks different from a distance, right? Then don't use too many colors, as I already told you. I'm not talking about the visuals, but the text. So just 2 colors perhaps should be enough. Maybe you can limit yourself to 2 colors, no maximum. And even when you use these 2 colors, think of what's called contrast. For instance, see the slide here on the bottom left, this, what is this color? This is it pink? I don't know what color is that. So some pink background and then some yellow text. I think it cannot be read. It cannot be seen clearly. So there must be contrast. If the background is a light color, the text must be a very highly dark color. And if the background is dark black, dark blue, dark red, etc., the text must be a light color. So contrast look better. For instance, this slide background is white. I have used black color and that emphasizes it. And use visuals, some visuals that make your presentation really impressive. So there is just a 2-minute video. I think we have 2 minutes time. You just watch this video and tell me while you are watching this video, please remember, pay your attention carefully, listen to it carefully, watch it carefully, and you have to tell me after you've seen this short video, what are the points that these children are trying to make.
My name is Kenna, and I'm going to teach you how to do a great presentation. It's my version of a TED Talk. Number 1, entrance. When you walk in, you have to be confident. Smile. If you don't smile, the audience is gonna be like, what? You have to walk in confidently. You should have your shoulders back, but not like all the way back. Don't move around so much, because that's a little bit distracting. Because then the audience is gonna lose attention. If you're having a little trouble putting your hands by your side, you can put your hands above your belly button. This is a very good speaking stance that I actually use a lot. Here's the most important part, introduction. You need to get these people attention in 10 seconds, because that's it. 10 seconds to get your audience's attention. If you don't use that 10 seconds, everybody's gonna start being boring. If I start with the hook, they tend to stay more engaged. Free desserts, family, and fun. Don't go yet. Last thing, eye contact. Eye contact. Eye contact. Eye contact. But make sure you have to look at every person in your audience, so they feel kind of like included. All right, that's all I have for now. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so that was the short video that I wanted to share with you, and then you might have noted some points that the young children made. If you can repeat some of them, please do that in the chat box. And now it's time for some questions. In case you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. And before the questions begin, the two links that you see on the screen, authorstream.com and slideshare.net, where this slideshow is available for you. You can watch it again. You can watch it any number of times. And this entire slideshow and many other slideshows that I prepared are available to you on those websites. You can go to slideshare.net and search for Lion nagaRAJU, and you will find, every slide that I've shown you is there for you to re-watch it or use it in whatever manner you want. Thank you so much once again. And if you are writing in the chat box, you can write what you have learned from that. You repeat the question, I could not hear you.
How can we use free online resources for presentations in Google Meet? Free online resources.
This is one online resource. No, for PowerPoint is a technical tool, but Google Meet itself is an online resource that you have. There are many such platforms from where you can make presentations. In addition to that, if you want to use any technology, if you want to use any other, for instance, the one tool that I used today is Mentimeter. So Mentimeter can be combined with your presentation. So what did I do? I created a question first. I posted it on Mentimeter and I gave you a link and I asked you to connect with that link and I showed the results to you on screen. So like that, there are many. It depends on what do you want to use with what the tool that's available to you. If you know clearly what you want to achieve, you can easily search and then find what you want. Are you teaching vocabulary? Are you teaching some very serious philosophical proposition? Or are you just making a presentation to entertain people? Are you conducting a poll? What is it that you want to do? It depends. So there are, the web is full of millions of tools. You get completely lost there. That's like a jungle. If you don't know what you want to pluck there, which flower you want or which tree you want.
Or for presentation.
See, there are 3 or 4 ways of doing that. That's a multiple choice question can be converted into a poll. Google Meet allows that. And you ask your students, okay, this is the question. Which of the following 4 adjectives goes into that blank space? So write A or B or C or D. So they tick the answer. So 32% of you have got the correct answer. And others need to learn that this is not the correct adjective. This is the correct adjective for this reason. So you can use, depending on your creativity, depending on your resourcefulness, any tool that's available to you can be used in multiple ways.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
It also should depend on the level of your students. What level are your students? If your students are very bright, you can use it in very highly ingenious ways.